Hello everybody, this is Oscar Gomez. On this occasion, I would like to explain some lesson plans on how to teach adolescents and adults certain topics. So to get started, is going to see the lesson plans. So first of all, it's going to see how to teach degrees of adjectives to adolescents. And for these lessons, I have established some specific goals or outcomes. So students have to be able at the end of this lesson to read and identify degrees of adjectives. They need to be able to listen and understand the use of degrees. They need to express comparisons between people, animals, and other items. And lastly, they have to be able to write correctly comparisons by using the right rules of and the right structures of degrees of adjectives. So in order to start with this lesson, we need to start with a warm-up activity, and in this occasion the teacher is going to show students a picture with two objects. It can vary from houses or any type of picture that the teacher wants to use. And the idea here is to elicit questions so that students can make comparisons between the two objects about the size, the color, the texture, different aspects according to it. This activity can take up to 10 minutes, and the materials used for this are on the whiteboard, or in this occasion, if the teacher needs to use a video beam or TV to show the picture, it's also okay. So moving on the presentation, which is an activity that can take up to 30 minutes, the teacher is going to explain thoroughly the topic. He's going to go through all the explanation, grammatical structures, rules on how to use this topic, and eventually he's going to ask students to pair up and start working on some cards, picture cards. These cards contain different pictures in which they have to look for common characteristics and provide explanation, comparisons between all of them. Then students have to work on practice, and this time they are going to do it thoroughly because the teacher is going to focus on the four fundamental skills, and this activity is going to take up to 40 minutes in which they are going to start working on a worksheet. They're going to complete it. After that, the teacher is going to provide a handout with a chart, and this chart is going to contain personal information like age, height, cell phone, and other type of information. Besides that, they have to go through the classroom and they have to look for other persons saying information so that they can make comparisons in the end of the class. Eventually, the teacher is going to play an audio containing key information about comparisons, and students are going to be asked to ask some questions based on the listening. Lastly, the teacher is going to ask students to write a comparative test. This test includes comparison between countries in which they can compare the population, the economical situation, the technology, and other important aspects of it. Moving on the production step, which can take up to 30 minutes, students have to start their own presentation, and this presentation has to do with the previous step in which they have to introduce a country, two countries in this case, and they have to start explaining the main characteristics and features of these countries. How are they going to be assessed? Well, the teacher is going to use an accumulative assessment in which they are going to be summing up all the right points for each activity, and also for the speaking activity, the teacher is going to use a checklist containing different criteria and aiming at fulfilling the main objectives that they were established from the very beginning of the lesson. This way, he can guarantee that students have fulfilled and comply with the objectives that were first established. Now, how to teach used to adults, and this is a very interesting topic since students are going to be able to read and identify past actions. They're going to be able to write statements appropriately. They're going to be able to express and produce information according to past events. And lastly, they're going to be able to inquire information regarding past events. So firstly, and to get started, they're going to teacher is going to start with a warm-up activity which can take up to 15 minutes, and to do this the teacher is going to elicit some questions in order to make students think and reflect upon their past. Some questions can be to ask them about a game that they played, places they used to visit, and so on. For the presentation activity, the teacher is going to explain the topic thoroughly. It's going to go through all the grammatical structures, rules, and stuff like that. And he's going to make sure that all students get the topic right. This is very important because this is going to guarantee that the students are going to produce the information accurately. So after this, the student is going to take the previous step and is going to ask students to socialize their answers, answering the questions that were required from the very previous step. And this activity can take again up to 25 minutes. For the practice activity, again, the teacher is going to take into consideration the full fundamental skills. And to start with, it's going to require students to analyze a worksheet in which they have to answer true or false according to the information of 200 years, and this contains specific statements for the activity. Then the teacher is going to play a game which is very popular, and it's called Charade. This time he's going to play this game with the students by asking them to form teams, and then they have to guess an invention by using the grammatical target topic which is used to, and you can see in the picture how this game works. Eventually the teacher is going to play an audio. This audio it's related to used to, in which the audio is going to be using past structures so that students can identify, and in the end that they can be able to understand and answer different questions. And lastly, for the practice activity, the teacher is going to provide students with a handout in which they are going to be answering hypothetical situations, imaginary situations. They are going to put themselves into the situations, and they are going to express what they think about it. And in the picture, you can see some examples of it. For the production, they are going to start a presentation about the previous activity. And lastly, the teacher is going to use an accumulative test or assessment, and for the speaking activity, as well as the other one, he's going to be using a checklist containing the criteria and all the key elements that are aiming to fulfill with the previous and the initial objectives established. That's everything. Thanks for watching.